The pursuit of a sphere of influence. That's what defines contemporary world politics. Every country is territorial about their sphere. So Russia considers Eastern Europe to be its backyard. The United States thinks the same of Central America. Tonight we will talk about India's sphere of influence. How far does it extend? And what are India's plans to consolidate its presence? We start with the vast Indian Ocean to the south. Indians have sailed these waters for hundreds of years. It's familiar territory, but of late the Indian Ocean has become a strategic playground, courtesy one country, China. Beijing wants to box India in with the String of Pearls initiative. What's the String of Pearls? These strategic ports that are controlled by China. So India has responded in kind. It is developing a military base in the southwestern Indian Ocean. Let me pull up the map for you. Notice the island in the center, North Agalela. It is controlled by Mauritius, India's long-standing ally. Now that's where India is building its base. It might seem like the middle of nowhere, but look around and it'll make perfect sense. To the south is the Reunion Island, which is controlled by the French, another close ally. To the north is Djibouti, China's foothold in Africa. They have a military base there. So the Indian base in Agalela serves two objectives. One is to coordinate with allies, which is already happening. India recently conducted joint patrols with French vessels from the Reunion. And the second objective is surveillance. From Agalela, India can keep an eye on southern African trade routes. Most of China's energy trade is concentrated here. But we're not quite at that stage, because North Agalela is still a remote outpost. It is 12 kilometers long, 1.5 kilometers wide, small even by island standards. Less than 300 people live there. Until a few years back, it was like a ghost island, but today it is buzzing with construction activity. This is what it looked like in October 2014, the island. It was a wilderness surrounded by sea. But in 2015, India sought access to it. New Delhi wanted to develop it as a staging point for its Air Force and Navy. 6 years later, this is what it looks like. There is a new 3,000 meter long runway. It is capable of hosting India's new Boeing patrol aircraft. To the island's north is a new seaport that is being constructed. There are barracks, parade fields and accommodation for Indian workers. Basically, it's a full-fledged Indian military base. Both India and Mauritius have been tight-lipped about it, but chances are this island will serve as a surveillance hub for India, a crucial foothold in the southwestern Indian Ocean. And it's not just India. Australia too is shifting focus to its military bases. Once again, courtesy China, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has announced a major spending spree, close to $580 million to upgrade 4 military bases to the country's north. All kinds of upgrades are being planned. A larger airstrip in the Northern Territory, new firing ranges, training facilities, and housing for US Marines during joint war games. The messaging from Canberra has changed in the last few months. First, they tried to strike a balance between criticizing China and trading with China. That failed miserably. Now, top Australian officials are asking liberal democracies to brace for war. Prime Minister Morrison appears more invested in the campaign against China.
Our objective here in this part of the world is a free and open Indo-Pacific. Our objective here is to ensure a peaceful region, but one that at the same time Australia is in a position to always protect its interests, always advance our national interests, always support a global world order that favours freedom. And that is something that we share very deeply with our American friends and allies.
So the walls are closing in around China, not just militarily. Countries are also mounting an economic challenge. This is where supply chains come in. Now, you know that China controls global supply chains. And this control is dangerous for the world. It can choke any country it wants to. We saw the downside of Chinese control last year. No transparency, a lot of delays. So 3 countries have come together now to sidestep China: India, Australia and Japan. 3 members of the Quad Alliance. They have launched a new supply chain project. It is called the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative, or the SCRI. Here's how it will work. Businesses from these three countries will join hands. They will meet at investment forums facilitated by their governments. The idea is to create a stable and seamless supply chain that can survive disruptions. They've issued a joint statement too. It says the current supply chains are vulnerable. It's a clear reference to China, but the joint statement does not mention Beijing, not even once. Nonetheless, China is livid about what has happened. It has called this initiative an artificial supply chain, a deviation from free market economy. Think about the irony here. An opaque communist country is preaching the world on free market theory. Regardless of what China thinks, the initiative is going ahead. As a first step, all three countries will share best practices on robust supply networks. Their trade ministers will meet annually to review progress. So three Quad nations are showing the way beyond China. The United States is missing from this initiative, but it does call for a possible expansion if there's consensus. So it seems like countries are finally learning the lesson. Talks will not dissuade the Chinese military, but overseas bases and war games will. Same for China's supply chain system. You can talk all you want at the World Trade Organization, but Beijing always reverts to type. So the solution is this: build your own supply chain, delete Beijing from the equation, military deterrence and economic isolation. That should be the new strategy to make China pay. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.